The morning sun cast long shadows across the United Nations headquarters in New York when the massive alien ship appeared in the sky. It happened without warning. One moment the sky was clear, and the next, a vessel larger than any human-made structure hung silently above the city. Global panic lasted exactly 43 minutes before the alien transmission reached every screen, radio, and communication device on Earth. The message was clear, precise, and delivered in perfect English. We are representatives of the Galactic Council. Your world has been monitored and evaluated. You will now receive our terms. Inside the UN emergency chamber, world leaders gathered in unprecedented numbers. The Council's holographic representative, a tall being with glossy blue skin, stood in the center of the room. Its voice carried neither warmth nor hostility, only cold efficiency. Earth has been deemed too primitive to maintain independent status, the alien announced. Your technological development poses a risk to galactic stability. The Council offers you protection and guidance in exchange for your complete submission. President Wilson of the North American Alliance gripped his armrest tightly. And if we refuse? The alien's expression didn't change. Refusal is not recommended. You have 48 hours to submit your formal acceptance. The Council's decision is final. General Peter Blake sat quietly in the back of the chamber, his weathered face revealing nothing. But his hand moved slowly to his pocket, pressing a small button 3 times, a prearranged signal. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a command center few knew existed, operators began sending coded messages to hidden facilities around the globe. The alien representative continued listing demands. Earth's governments would be dissolved, resources would be managed by council overseers, and human military forces would be disbanded. Each word seemed to add weight to the already heavy atmosphere in the chamber. But something else was happening. Military satellites, disguised as ordinary communication relays, detected movement behind Mars. 7 massive warships, each dwarfing the diplomatic vessel above New York, waited in the shadow of the red planet. Inside a secret facility beneath the Siberian tundra, Colonel Anna Rogers watched the sensor readings with growing concern. They're positioning for a strike, she reported through a secure channel. Classic pincer formation. What the Council didn't know, what they couldn't know, was that humanity had prepared for this moment. Not because they expected aliens, but because humans had always prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. The global leaders maintained their poker faces as the alien finished its speech. Prime Minister Thompson of the European Coalition stood up, her voice steady. We require time to discuss these terms among ourselves. You have 48 hours, the alien repeated, its hologram flickering slightly. We await your submission. As soon as the hologram vanished, the real meeting began. In secure bunkers across the planet, military commanders revealed the full extent of humanity's hidden capabilities. Quantum shields, antimatter weapons, and a fleet of advanced spacecraft. All developed in secret, hidden from not just the public, but from most governments as well. They think we're primitive because that's what we wanted everyone to think. General Blake finally spoke. Our orbital defense networks have been disguised as space junk. Our fleet is concealed in lunar caves. Every satellite they see is a fraction of what it appears to be. President Wilson looked around the room. They're giving us 48 hours because they think we're helpless. They don't realize they've given us time to mobilize. The Chinese premier nodded slowly. Then perhaps we should show them exactly how primitive we are. As the leaders discussed their response, more data poured in from hidden sensors throughout the solar system. The Council's warships were moving into attack positions, confident in their superiority. They never noticed the small dark objects detaching from what appeared to be ordinary asteroids, human stealth fighters moving into counter positions. Earth had 48 hours. The Council thought they were delivering an ultimatum. Instead, they had given humanity all the time it needed to prepare its response. And what a response it would be. In the words of General Blake as he left the chamber, they want submission. Let's show them what happens when someone threatens Earth. The first shots hadn't been fired yet, but the war had already begun, and the Galactic Council was about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating humanity. Deep within the moon's Shackleton crater, hidden behind thick layers of rock and advanced stealth technology, Captain Mike Reed walked through the massive hangar of humanity's secret space fleet. Above him, sleek warships stretched into the darkness, their black hulls absorbing what little light reached them. Each vessel represented years of secret development, testing, and preparation. Status report. He called out to his crew as they prepared their ship, the Thunderchild, for launch. All systems green, Captain, replied Lieutenant Tom Baker from his station. Quantum shields at full capacity. Antimatter containment stable. We're ready to show these Council fellows what Earth can really do. The Council's ultimatum had triggered a response they never expected. Instead of panic, Earth's hidden military installations hummed with controlled activity. Decades of preparing for the worst-case scenario were about to pay off. In the Pentagon's underground command center, General Blake studied the holographic display showing the positions of Council warships. They were so confident in their superiority that they hadn't bothered to hide their movements. Their arrogance would be their downfall. Look at their formation, he said to his staff. They've never faced an enemy with our capabilities. Their tactics are textbook, designed to intimidate primitive cultures who've barely achieved spaceflight. A young analyst raised her hand. Sir, we've decoded more of their transmissions. They're laughing about us. They think we're still using chemical rockets and radio waves. General Blake smiled grimly. Let them laugh. They don't know about the quantum entanglement network. They haven't detected our AI defense grid. And they certainly don't know about Project Phoenix. Project Phoenix was humanity's ace in the hole. Hidden in plain sight, thousands of seemingly innocent satellites contained advanced weapon systems, each one powered by miniature fusion reactors capable of deploying energy weapons that could cut through the strongest known shields. On the far side of the moon, Dr. Linda West made final adjustments to the quantum shield array. Her team had developed the technology after studying fragments of a crashed alien ship in 2089. The Council thought Earth had never encountered alien technology before. Another mistake in their long list of miscalculations. Shield harmonics optimized, she reported through the secure channel. The moment they try to scan us, all they'll see is empty space and lunar rock. In orbit around Earth, disguised as weather satellites, the AI defense network monitored every movement of the Council ships. The AIs had been learning, adapting, analyzing every bit of data they could gather about Council technology. They had already identified 3 critical weaknesses in the alien ship's design. Director Marcus Wong of the Global Defense Initiative reviewed the final preparations. Every hidden weapon platform was ready. Every concealed fleet was prepared for launch. Humanity's greatest deception was about to be revealed. Send word to all commands, he ordered. Operation Sleeping Giant is now active. Across Earth and throughout the solar system, humanity's true military might stirred to life. In underground bases, soldiers suited up in powered armor that made Council combat suits look primitive. In orbital facilities, weapons powered up that would make the aliens question everything they thought they knew about human technology. Captain Reed addressed his crew one final time before taking their positions. For decades, we've hidden our strength. We've let them think we were primitive. We've studied them while they thought they were studying us. Now it's time to show the Council why you should never underestimate humanity. The crew moved to their stations with practiced efficiency. Around them, other ships powered up their systems. The low hum of antimatter engines filled the lunar hangar as Earth's hidden fleet prepared for war. In New York, the Council's diplomatic vessel hovered arrogantly, its crew certain of their superiority. They never noticed the quantum distortions building around them. They didn't detect the AI systems infiltrating their computers, and they certainly didn't realize that Earth's response to their ultimatum was already in motion. General Blake watched the final preparations with satisfaction. In just a few hours, the Council would learn the truth. They would discover that humanity wasn't primitive. They were patient. They weren't helpless. They were waiting. And they weren't about to submit. They were about to fight back. The hidden strength of humanity was about to be revealed, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Council made their first move exactly as Earth's military leaders predicted. Their massive warship moved into position above a small uninhabited island in the Pacific Ocean. It was meant to be a demonstration of power, a warning shot to show Earth what resistance would bring. The alien ship's weapon systems powered up, generating enough energy to level the entire island. In the Council's command center, Admiral Voss watched with cold satisfaction. "Let the primitives see what they face," he said to his crew. But the weapon never fired. The first sign that something was wrong came when their ship's systems flickered. Then, without warning, every screen went dark. The mighty Council vessel hung powerless in the sky, its advanced technology defeated by a simple but devastating human EMP burst. "Now," General Blake's voice thundered through the quantum communications network. "Launch Operation Sleeping Giant." What happened next would be remembered in galactic history as the moment everything changed. The moon's surface seemed to ripple as hidden hangar doors opened. From the lunar darkness, Earth's secret fleet emerged. Hundreds of ships, each one a perfect blend of stolen alien technology and human innovation. Captain Reed's voice was steady as he gave the order. "All ships, battle formations. Show them what humanity can do." The Council's hidden warships behind Mars tried to respond, but they had already lost the advantage. Human vessels, using quantum tunneling technology, appeared seemingly out of nowhere. The Council's rigid battle formations fell apart as they faced an enemy that didn't fight like any species they had encountered before. Multiple targets locked. Lieutenant Baker reported from his station on the Thunderchild. "Their shields are still configured for old Earth weapons. They never updated their defenses." The first volley from Earth's fleet struck with surgical precision. Quantum-tipped missiles phased through the Council's shields as if they weren't there. The aliens had never seen anything like it, weapons that ignored their most advanced defenses. In orbit around Earth, the AI defense network sprang to life. What the Council had dismissed as space debris transformed into a web of automated weapon platforms. Each one had been learning and adapting, preparing for this moment. "Their communications are in chaos," reported an analyst at Global Command. "They're trying to call for reinforcements, but our quantum jammers are blocking their signals." The Council's diplomatic vessel above New York attempted to flee. Instead, it found itself trapped in a quantum containment field, its crew watching helplessly as Earth's true power was revealed. Director Wong coordinated the global response from his command center. "Launch the Phoenix platforms," he ordered. "Let's show them what primitive really means." The thousands of satellites in Earth's orbit suddenly transformed. Solar panels folded away to reveal weapon systems that had been hidden in plain sight for years. The Council ships found themselves caught in a crossfire they never expected. Admiral Voss, watching from his flagship, finally understood the magnitude of their mistake. "How?" he demanded. "They were supposed to be primitive." The answer came in the form of Captain Reed's voice, broadcast on all frequencies. "You thought we didn't see you watching us. You thought we were blind to your presence, but we've been preparing for this day for decades. Every piece of technology you lost, every scout ship that disappeared, we found them all. We learned, we adapted, and we improved." The battle lasted less than an hour. When it was over, the mighty Council fleet was in ruins. Some ships were disabled, others captured, and the rest had fled in panic. Earth's forces had suffered minimal losses, their superior tactics and unexpected technology proving devastating. In the aftermath, General Blake stood in the UN chamber where it had all started. The hologram projector now showed images of the battle, proof of humanity's victory. "Send a message to the Council," he ordered. "Tell them this was just the beginning. If they want a war, they'll learn why you should never underestimate Earth." As the message was sent, Earth's fleet regrouped around the moon, preparing for what would come next. The Council had started this fight thinking they faced a primitive species. They would soon learn that humanity had not only caught up to their level of technology, they had surpassed it. The first strike was over. The real war was about to begin. 24 hours after Earth's stunning victory, Director Wong stood in a specially secured room aboard the captured Council flagship. Around him, teams of scientists and code breakers worked frantically to decrypt the alien database. What they found made his blood run cold. "Sir, you need to see this," called out Professor Alan White, his eyes fixed on the holographic display. The Council, they'd done this before, many times. The database revealed a horrifying truth. The Galactic Council wasn't a peaceful organization of advanced species. It was an empire built on conquest and exploitation. Hundreds of primitive worlds had fallen to their carefully planned subjugation program. In another section of the captured ship, Major Kelly Foster led a team breaking into what appeared to be a storage area. What they found instead were holding cells. Inside, they discovered prisoners, humans, and other alien species, all taken during previous Council observations of Earth. "They've been experimenting on them," she reported, her voice tight with anger. "Testing weaknesses, studying our biology. Some of these people have been missing for years." The rescued prisoners told stories that filled in the gaps. The Council had been secretly abducting humans for decades, trying to understand how Earth had advanced so quickly. They never realized that each abduction, each crashed scout ship, had only helped humanity prepare for this moment. General Blake arrived on the flagship to see the evidence himself. "Show me everything," he ordered. The holographic displays lit up with images of other worlds, some thriving with advanced civilizations, others stripped bare of resources. The Council's pattern was always the same: find a developing world, declare it primitive, and then either force it into submission or destroy it completely. "Look at these numbers," Professor White pointed to a data stream. Earth wasn't just another target. We were meant to be their biggest conquest yet. Our resources, our population. They were planning to turn Earth into their new power center. But the database revealed something else, something that made Earth's leaders smile grimly. The Council had become complacent. They hadn't faced real resistance in centuries. Their technology had stagnated while they relied on their size and reputation to maintain control. In a secure chamber deep within the ship, Dr. Linda West made another discovery. "Their quantum technology is decades behind ours," she reported. "They never developed it fully because they never needed to. They just overwhelmed everyone with brute force." A transmission from one of the freed alien prisoners, a being from a world called Proxima b, confirmed their findings. "My people refused to submit," he told them through a translator. "The Council turned our planet's surface to glass. We are not the first, and if they are not stopped, we will not be the last." Director Wong called an emergency meeting with Earth's leadership. The holographic conference showed grim faces as he shared what they had learned. "We have a choice," he said. "We can fortify Earth, build up our defenses, and wait for them to return with a bigger fleet. Or we take the fight to them," General Blake finished. "Show them what happens when they push humanity too far." The rescued prisoners had provided another crucial piece of information: the location of the Council's home systems, their central worlds, where they thought themselves safe from any retaliation. Captain Reed, joining the conference from the Thunderchild, spoke up. "The Council ships use standard hyperspace routes, but our quantum drive technology lets us go anywhere. They'll never expect us to reach their core worlds." The decision was unanimous. Earth would not wait for the Council's revenge. They would strike first, but not just for themselves. They would fight for every world the Council had conquered, for every species they had subjugated. "Send word to every ship, every base," General Blake ordered. "Operation Righteous Thunder begins in 48 hours. We're taking the fight to their doorstep." As the meeting ended, Director Wong looked at the image of a Council prison world they had discovered. They thought they were judging us, he said quietly. Instead, we'll be judging them. The revelation of the Council's true nature had changed everything. This wasn't just about defending Earth anymore. It was about liberation. And humanity was about to show the galaxy why you should never provoke a species that had spent its entire history learning how to fight back against stronger opponents. The counterattack was about to begin. Earth's fleet emerged from quantum space near the edge of Council territory. Captain Reed stood on the bridge of the Thunderchild, leading a force of 300 ships. Behind them, the rescued aliens from various worlds had provided critical intelligence about Council defenses. Multiple Council patrol ships detected, Lieutenant Baker reported. They haven't spotted us yet. Our quantum stealth is holding. The plan was bold but simple. While the Council expected Earth to cower and wait for their retaliation, humanity would strike at the heart of their empire. The fleet split into smaller groups, each targeting different Council strongholds. All ships activate Ghost Protocol, Captain Reed ordered. The human fleet scattered, using their advanced quantum drives to jump between systems faster than the Council could track. It was like trying to fight shadows. The Council never knew where Earth's ships would appear next. On a Council prison world, alarms blared as human ships appeared in orbit. But instead of attacking, they broadcast a message to the imprisoned species below. Your chains are broken. Earth stands with you. The response was immediate. Across dozens of worlds, subjugated species rose up against their Council overlords. They had waited centuries for this moment, and humanity had given them the chance they needed. Sir, incoming transmission from the Resistance on Proxima B, an officer called out. They've seized control of their planetary defense systems. They're asking to join our attack. General Blake, coordinating from the mobile command ship, smiled. Send them our combat protocols. Welcome them to the fight. The Council's response was chaos. Their rigid military structure, used to dealing with simple rebellions, couldn't handle fighting on multiple fronts. Every time they gathered their forces to counter Earth's fleet, they would find themselves attacking empty space while their real targets struck elsewhere. Their entire defense network is based on predicted jump points, Dr. West reported from her analysis station. They never imagined someone could bypass their hyperspace routes completely. Earth's quantum drives let them appear anywhere, anytime. Council commanders watched helplessly as their carefully planned defenses were bypassed entirely. Supply lines were cut. Communication hubs were disabled. Command centers were isolated. Major Foster led a strike team onto a Council military station. They expected heavy resistance. Instead, they found many of the garrison troops had already surrendered, inspired by stories of Earth's victory spreading through the ranks. These Council soldiers, she reported back, many of them are from conquered worlds themselves. They were forced to serve. Now they're turning against their masters. The Council's empire had been built on fear and dominance, but they had never faced an enemy like humanity. One that didn't just fight back, but offered hope to others. Director Wong coordinated with the growing alliance of freed worlds. Each liberated planet joined the fight, sharing their own unique technologies and tactics. The Council had created their own worst nightmare, a unified force of species they had tried to crush, led by the very primitives they had underestimated. Council fleet detected. Lieutenant Baker announced. Their flagship is leading a counterattack. Captain Reed watched as the massive Council armada approached. It was the moment they had planned for. Send the signal, he ordered. Spring the trap. As the Council fleet moved to attack, they suddenly found themselves surrounded. Ships appeared from quantum space all around them, not just Earth vessels, but warships from every species that had joined the rebellion. The hunters had become the hunted. Attention Council forces. Captain Reed broadcast on all frequencies. You are surrounded by the combined fleet of free worlds. Your empire is falling. Surrender or face the consequences of your crimes. The battle that followed was brief but decisive. The Council fleet, faced with weapons and tactics they had never prepared for, broke apart under the combined assault. Their flagship, symbol of their power for centuries, was captured intact. As the dust settled, General Blake received reports from across Council space. Their empire was collapsing. Centuries of oppression were ending in days. Earth's victory had sparked a fire that couldn't be contained. "Send word to all forces," he ordered. "Set course for the Council homeworld. It's time to end this once and for all." The counter-offensive had succeeded beyond their wildest hopes, but the final battle still lay ahead. The Council's seat of power awaited, and humanity would make sure their reign of terror ended where it began. Earth's fleet regrouped, joined by their new allies, ready for the final push. The galaxy was about to change forever. The Council homeworld gleamed like a jewel in space, its surface covered in towering cities built from the wealth of 1,000 conquered worlds. Now those same cities watched in fear as the combined fleet of Earth and its allies filled their skies. Their orbital defenses are massive. Lieutenant Baker reported from his station on the Thunderchild. "More weapons than we've seen anywhere else." Captain Reed studied the tactical display. The Council had gathered everything they had left for this final stand. Their remaining ships formed a defensive wall around their capital city. They thought their position was unbreakable. They were wrong. "All ships, execute Formation Delta," he ordered. The human fleet split into smaller groups, using the quantum drive tactics that had proven so effective. But this time, the Council was ready. Energy beams filled space as the battle began. In the Council's Grand Chamber, High Counselor Voss watched the battle with growing rage. The massive room, designed to showcase the Council's power to intimidated species, now felt like a trap. Around him, other Council leaders argued desperately. "How dare they attack us here?" One Council member shouted, "We have ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Your rule ends today." A new voice echoed through the chamber. The Council members turned to see holograms appearing around them, representatives from every world they had conquered, every species they had oppressed. Earth had given them all the means to breach the Council's communications. Above the planet, the battle reached its peak. Council ships fought with desperate fury, but they couldn't match the combined tactics of the Allied fleet. Quantum-shifted missiles phased through their best shields. Eye-guided fighters outmaneuvered their formations. One by one, their defenses fell. "Multiple Council ships are surrendering," Major Foster reported from her assault carrier. "Their crews are refusing to fight." The Council's own soldiers, many from conquered worlds themselves, began turning against their masters. Centuries of fear and oppression shattered in the face of hope for freedom. Director Wong coordinated the final assault from the command ship. All forces converge on the capital. The Council must not escape. The Council leaders tried to flee to their secret bunkers, but found every escape route blocked. Earth's intelligence teams had decrypted their evacuation plans days ago. There would be no escape this time. "Attention Council leaders," General Blake's voice boomed through the capital's communication systems. "Your forces are defeated. Your fleet is destroyed or surrendered. You have one chance to surrender peacefully." In orbit, Captain Reed watched as the last Council defense platforms went dark. The Thunderchild led a formation of ships down through the atmosphere, quantum shields glowing as they descended toward the Council chambers. Inside the Grand Chamber, High Counselor Voss faced the inevitable. Through the massive windows, he could see Earth ships landing in the plaza outside. Teams of humans and their allies, wearing advanced combat suits, secured the building. "How?" he demanded as Earth's forces entered the chamber. "You were primitive. You were nothing." Major Foster stepped forward, her armor gleaming. "You made 3 mistakes," she said coldly. "You underestimated us. You united us against you. And worst of all, you gave us time to prepare." General Blake arrived personally to accept the Council's surrender. The chamber, which had seen countless species humbled over millennia, now witnessed the Council themselves being brought to justice. "In the name of Earth and the Alliance of Free Worlds," he declared, "the Council's reign is over. The news spread across the galaxy. On thousands of worlds, beings of all species celebrated their liberation. The Council, which had seemed invincible for so long, had fallen in less than a month to the very primitives they had tried to conquer. Captain Reed stood in the Council Plaza, watching as former Council authorities were taken into custody. Around him, representatives from dozens of freed worlds gathered to discuss the future. "What happens now?" one of them asked him. He looked up at the Earth ships hovering protectively overhead. "Now we build something better. Not an empire of fear, but an alliance of equals." The fall of the Council chambers marked the end of an era of oppression. But it also marked the beginning of something new. A galaxy where no species would ever again be called primitive, where cooperation would replace conquest. Earth had not just won a war. They had changed the very foundation of galactic civilization. 1 month after the Council's fall, the former Council chambers looked very different. Where once stood symbols of oppression, now representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered to shape the galaxy's future. The massive room had been transformed, with Earth's flag hanging alongside banners from every freed world. Captain Reed watched from his position near the main platform as Director Wong addressed the gathered species. The Thunder Child floated proudly above the city, a symbol of the revolution that had changed everything. "We stand here today, not as conquerors," Director Wong began, his voice carrying to every corner of the chamber, "but as equals. Earth did not fight this war to replace one empire with another. We fought for freedom, for all species." Around the chamber, beings of all shapes and sizes listened intently. Some floated in anti-gravity fields, others stood on specialized platforms, but all were treated with equal respect, a stark contrast to the Council's old hierarchy. General Blake stepped forward to present the core principles of the new Galactic Alliance. First and foremost, he declared, no species will ever again be called primitive. Every civilization develops in its own way, at its own pace. This diversity is not a weakness. It is our greatest strength. The applause that followed shook the chamber. Species that had lived in fear for centuries were finally free to speak their minds. Major Foster, now serving as Earth's security coordinator, supervised as former Council archives were open to all. Every piece of technology, every scientific discovery they hoarded, she announced, will now be shared freely among all member worlds. But Earth's representatives made sure to include safeguards. They had learned from the Council's mistakes. Power would be distributed, not concentrated. Decisions would require consensus, not commands. "Look at this," Lieutenant Baker said to Captain Reed, showing him a datapad. "Worlds that were enemies under the Council are already starting trade agreements. They're sharing resources, helping each other rebuild." The changes were happening faster than anyone expected. Quantum drive technology, once Earth's secret weapon, was being adapted by other species. Each civilization added their own innovations, improving the design in ways humans hadn't imagined. Professor White, who had first uncovered the Council's dark secrets, now led a team documenting their crimes. Not to seek revenge, he explained to the assembly, but to ensure such things never happen again. The former Council leaders, now awaiting trial, watched from their detention cells as their empire of fear was transformed into something they had never imagined possible. A true alliance of equals. "We're receiving reports from across the galaxy," an aide reported to Director Wong. "Worlds that were stripped bare by the Council are being restored. Species that were nearly wiped out are recovering. The healing has begun." But Earth's leaders knew their work wasn't finished. They had to prove that this new alliance was different from the Council. Actions, not words, would show the galaxy that change was real. Captain Reed received new orders that symbolized this commitment. The Thunder Child and other Earth ships would now serve as protectors, helping worlds rebuild and defend themselves. They would teach, not dominate. Some said we should keep our advanced technology to ourselves. General Blake addressed the chamber, that we should maintain an advantage. But that kind of thinking is what led to the Council's corruption. The galaxy advances together, or not at all. As the day drew to a close, representatives from the freed worlds approached Earth's leaders one by one. They brought not tribute, as they once did to the Council, but gifts freely given, tokens of genuine gratitude and friendship. The former Council chambers, once a place of fear, echoed with conversation and laughter. Species that had been enemies now worked together, learning from each other's differences instead of fearing them. Director Wong looked out over the gathering and smiled. The Council thought they were the peak of civilization, he said quietly. They never understood that true civilization isn't about power or technology. It's about how you treat others. As night fell on the capital world, ships from 100 species lit up the sky in a celebration of freedom. Earth had not just won a war. They had shown the galaxy a better way forward. The age of the Council was over. The age of the Alliance had begun. And this time, every voice would be heard.